Like AG gun and rockets, we can also have a manual mode for unguided bombs. We can set a fixed gun reticle on the HUD to an entered mill depression. By using a set mill value with a bomb release dive angle, altitude, and airspeed, it can be a handy delivery method when CCIP and auto modes are not available. First, press the AG Master Mode button, or 2. Based on what you learned from the CCIP bombing lesson, you can see that you have 8 Mark 82 500-pound bombs under the wings. Select 82B from push button 6. This page should look familiar now. Select Mode from push button 5. Select Man on push button 2 to enter manual bombing mode. Next, select push button 4 to set your mechanical fuse. Select Nose Fuse by pressing push button 4. We now have program 1 for Mark 82 bombs set up to be in manual mode with a nose fuse setting. On the HUD you will note the fixed aiming pipper and reticle and the manual mode and mill setting on the right side. When in manual mode, your true airspeed is displayed under your calibrated airspeed. Select UFC to display the reticle option on the UFC. Now select the RTCL option select button. As with AG gun and rockets, you can enter a mill value between 0 and 270 to position the aiming reticle and pipper on the HUD. Using what you learned in the CCIP bombing lesson, go ahead and set a release profile with the release quantity of 8 and multiple of 1 and an interval of 100 feet. Set a reticle value of 80 mils. Press spacebar to continue. I have now unpaused the lesson. Ahead of you at waypoint 1 is a line of target trucks. They are marked by a gate and a red smoke marker. For manual bombing to work best, you need to fly a very specific bombing profile. In this case, we have a mill setting of 80, so we want to release our bombs in a 20-degree dive angle at 3,200 feet and at an airspeed of 400 knots. When you are at these parameters and the pipper is over the target, press and hold the weapon release button or the right alt and spacebar keys.
Altitude. Altitude.
Nice job! You can continue practicing in manual bombing mode or press escape to end the lesson.
Altitude. 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 Pull up, pull up. Altitude. 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 Fuel low. Fuel low.
Yo, Dora! Yes, I'm streaming at the moment. I'm doing some practice run with my new F18 Hornet. So. All about auto bombing mode. Can deliver a bomb in level flight. Level flight, oh. A high level flight, I think. English. Ook English. Dutch. Everything.
The third bombing mode to discuss is automatic or auto bombing. This is similar to a mode you may be familiar with in the A10C called CCRP mode. It allows accurate delivery of weapons based on designated target point. This target point can be a waypoint, designated on the HUD, or set with another sensor. Today, we'll look at setting up a target point using a waypoint in the HUD, then we will deliver a bomb on that location. The big advantage of auto mode is that you can deliver a bomb in level flight and is most often used for guided bombs like laser and GPS guided systems. However, you can still use it for unguided bombs. First, press the AG Master Mode button, or 2.
Add to ground mode.
Looking at the left DDI, you see we have 4 Mark 84 2,000-pound bombs under our 4 wing stations. Select 84 by pressing push button 6. Along the left side of the format page at push button 5 is the bombing mode selection. Press this now. Select auto mode by pressing push button 5. We'll set the fuse now by first pressing M fuse on push button 4.
Fuse.
Next,
Nose.
select a nose fuse by pressing push button 4. We will just drop one bomb at a time, so we don't need to fiddle with further bomb program options. The first way we'll learn to set a target or TGT point to drop a bomb on is by setting a waypoint to be a target point. On the lower center MPCD, select waypoint to set this as our navigation steer to source. If you wish, you can press backspace to hide the control stick. Next, press the push button next to the up arrow to select waypoint 1. We now have waypoint 1 selected as our navigation point. Press the WPDSG push button to set it as your target. Upon doing so, your waypoint navigation number changed to TGT on the HSI, and a diamond is now on the HUD heading tape. The diamond indicates the direction to the target. On the right side of the HUD is also the auto bombing designation with the time to release, or REL, below it. Below that is range to the target as nautical miles and TGT. In this case, 17 TGT.
Okay.
Running down the HUD is the azimuth steering line, or ASL. This indicates the azimuth you need to fly to reach the target. Along the ASL is the pull-up cue, which appears as a horizontal line with what appears to be upturned wings on the ends. If the velocity vector is below the pull-up cue, you will see the brake X. At the bottom of the HUD is a diamond, and this marks the line of sight to the target. When the target is outside the HUD field of view, it will flash. Additionally, near the top center is your target pointer, which points towards the off-HUD target, and a numeric above it indicating the degrees off. When you are ready, press spacebar and I will unpause the lesson. We'll now attempt an auto-bombing delivery against the target located at waypoint 1. Fly to place the velocity vector on the ASL and fly level. Keep your speed between 450 and 500 knots. Note the REL time to release and TGT target range decrease as we close the range to the target. Use smooth control inputs to keep the velocity vector over the ASL. Don't ham-fist it.
450 and 500.
At about 4 miles from the
500
target,
knots
a horizontal
max.
bar called the release cube appears on the ASL. This drops down the ASL as you close to the target. Hold down the weapon release button or right alt and spacebar key until the release cue passes through the velocity vector. When this happens, the bomb is automatically released. The more accurate you are in keeping the velocity vector over the ASL at time of release will affect bomb accuracy. Try to be wings level and holding a steady airspeed. This will allow the weapon system to calculate an accurate release point. A lower altitude can also increase auto bomb accuracy. If your first bomb fails to destroy one of the targets, try again until you do.
Just fly to the green middle line. Hold the release button. Here it goes. The miss.
Good
Oh,
job!
hit.
Using unguided bombs in auto mode is certainly not the ideal delivery method, but it can be useful at night or bad weather. I'm going to pause the lesson again so we can talk about auto bombing using the HUD to designate a target. First, press the undesignated button, or S, to release waypoint 1 as our TGT location.
Okay.
In order to designate a ground location as the target through the HUD, press forward on the sensor select switch or press right alt and semicolon to set the throttle designator control of the HUD. This is indicated by the dot in the center of the velocity vector.
This.
When in auto HUD bombing mode, we have a reticle consisting of 12 hash marks. Between this reticle and the velocity vector is a dashed line. This line and reticle are referred to as the ball and chain. On the right side of the HUD, we have the auto mode indication. Located at waypoint 2 is a second set of target trucks that will attack. Select the next waypoint on the HSI.
Okay, waypoint 2.
Fly to bring waypoint 2 into your HUD field of view and note that the targets are marked with blue smoke. Fly to place the center of the reticle over the center of the target group and press the weapon release button or press enter. Once the location is designated, a dashed diamond marks the location and an ASL appears on the HUD. From here, the bombing delivery is just like we performed using a target waypoint. Fly to place the velocity vector on the ASL and hold down the weapon release button or right alt and spacebar as the weapon release cue passes through the velocity vector. If you wish to refine the location of the diamond, you can slew it using the TDC cursor or the comma, period, backslash, and semicolon keys. Try it out. Remember, to clear a designation, press the undesignated button or press S.
Miss. Early. Okay, location is designated, a diamond, diamond mark, a hood. Epic. Back.
Altitude. Altitude.
Miss again. One bomb left. Altitude. Altitude.
Good hits on those targets. When you are ready to exit the lesson, press escape.
Can I land? Where? Pratic to land also.
Altitude. Altitude.
Okay, let's try to bank in. Think I'm too short, but for throttle. Oh, good, looks good. Ah, much better. Touchdown. Ah. Next one. High drag bombing. I needed to drop bomb at low altitude. High drag bomb like the MK82. Snake Eyes. A 82 Balut. Grade 2. Let's try them out. Gaat zien, Dora.
When needing to drop bombs at low altitudes, high drag bombs like the Mark 82 Snake Eye and Mark 82 Balut are great tools. The fins of the Snake Eye and the chute of the Balut allow the aircraft to drop at very low altitudes, but be far away from the blast by the time the bomb impacts. These can be delivered from both CCIP and auto modes. In this lesson, I have 8 Mark 82 Balut 82YT loaded. Using what you learned in previous lessons, go ahead and set the master mode to AG, select 82YT, set the mode to CCIP, fuse to nose, and UFC options for a quantity of 4, a multiple of 1, and an interval of 100 feet. This will allow us 2 bombing passes. When you are done, press spacebar to continue.
Okay, quantity of 4, multiply of 1. Of 100. Allow us to bomb in passer. Perfect. Four. Multiply 1. Yes. 100. This will allow us to bomb in passers.
Let's now configure the bombs to use their high drag Baluts. Press the drag at push button 2.
Drag.
We now have options for free fall or FF and retarded or RET. When free fall is selected, the high drag surfaces will not be deployed. When retarded is selected, they will be. Select RET from push button 4. On our Program 1 data, we now see RET for the drag option. This is very important for high drag bombs to be dropped accurately. For high drag delivery, a speed of 550 knots and 300 feet is a good profile for accurate delivery and getting in and out of the target area fast. We'll be flying very low, so you may want to set your radar altimeter to 100 feet. If not, I hope you like the whoop whoop sound. Set your HUD to show radar altitude. Set up your navigation for waypoint 1. At waypoint 1 is a group of trucks that are marked with a gate and red smoke. Can't miss it. We'll hit this target with a level drop at 550 knots at 300 feet above the ground. I have a second target group at waypoint 2 to also practice on.
Waypoint.
This is also marked by a gate that is marked with blue smoke. When ready, press spacebar and I'll unpause the lesson.
Set up the navigation, I did. Set up my radar altitude, I did.
Line up your velocity vector above the target while in level flight. When the CCIP cross is over the target, press and hold the weapon release button or right alt and spacebar key.
Oh, miss. Line up your velocity vector above the target while in level flight. When a CRP passes over the target, press and hold. Our turn. Voor de rode smoke, denk ik. Red smoke.
Pull up, pull up.
Good hits on those dastardly trucks.
Oh, nice.
Come to a heading of about 72 degrees to hit the second target
Cool.
group at waypoint 2. When you are done, press escape to end the lesson.
Okay. Carrier taxi and take off. Okay, Swan, carrier landing. Air to air. Side window. Unguided.
In addition to high explosive general purpose bombs like the Mark 82, 83, and 84, you also have canister munitions at your disposal. Also termed cluster bombs, the F18C can carry the Mark 20 Rockeye 2 and CBU 99 and 100. All three munitions carry 247 Mark 118 Mod 1 bomblets. The Mark 118 bomblet contains a shaped charged warhead designed for anti-armor use. As such, these bomblets are good at defeating armor, but have very little proximity damage effect. To be effective, the bomblet must directly hit the target. The three versions of the munition only differ in their canister and fuses. Today, we have 8 Mark 20s loaded and 2 groups of various armored vehicles to devastate. As should be routine now, set master mode to AG. Select Mark 20s by pressing push button 6. We'll keep the UFC option as is. A big difference when setting up a canister munition profile is the fuse setting. Rather than an impact fuse, we'll need to initiate the fuse when the munition is over the target area so the bomblets can disperse over the desired weapon effect area. We'll do this with the mechanical fuse or M fuse. Press push button 4 to select M fuse. From the M fuse selections, select variable timed or VT on push button 3. When we selected VT as the fuse type, we now have an HT height option on push button 1. This will set the weapon computer to provide weapon release cues based on what height the fuse is set to physically open on the canister. The physical fuse and the fuse setting in the program must match. By default, the physical fuse is set to 1500 feet. Continually press push button 1 until 1500 is displayed in the HT field for program in the data block. Press spacebar once the HT value is set to 1500.
Okay.
Once that is done, set your HUD to show radar altitude.
Set your HUD. Radar altitude. Dus deze knop.
While canister munitions can be delivered in auto mode, CCIP is recommended for better accuracy. As reviewed in the CCIP bombing lesson, we have a DIL, pull-up queue, and reflected queue on the HUD. As with CCIP general purpose bombs, we will fly to place the CCIP bombing cross over the target and then hold down
see
the
you
weapon
later,
release
Dora.
button, or right alt and spacebar key to release the munition. Before we try this though, set your radar altimeter to 1500 feet to alert us if we are below the fuse height. In addition to the altitude warning, you would also see a dud cue on the HUD. Press spacebar to unpause the mission.
Waarom is de chat zo groot ineens, joh? Niet meer instellen of zo. Oh, hier zo. Ah, beter.
For best accuracy, a specific attack profile is recommended. Perform a diving attack on the target with the velocity vector between -25 and -30 degrees on the HUD pitch ladder. Maintain an airspeed of 500 knots and release the weapon at 2,500 feet radar altitude. Give it a try against the target group at waypoint 1. It's marked by a gate and red smoke. Line up your velocity vector over the target but at level
Altitude.
flight. When the CCIP
Altitude.
cross is over the target, press and hold the weapon release button or right alt and spacebar key when at 2,500 feet, 500 knots, and a dive angle between 25 and 30 degrees.
Oh. Had niet helemaal als gepland. Oeps. I dive too early there. Okay. Nice, 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 nice.
Altitude. Altitude.
Nice on those BTRs. At waypoint 2 is a second set of armored targets to practice on. When you are done, press escape to end the lesson.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Oh. Kom op.
Altitude. Altitude.
Oh, this auto release. Ah. Oh. Nice. Ooh. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Uh-oh. Ooh. Ooh. Oh.
low. Fuel low.
Oeh.
When visual flight rules conditions are not present, such as at night or foul weather, an instrument approach landing is used. As the name implies, this relies on the instruments of the Hornet to provide a correct azimuth and glide slope approach to the selected airfield. Although the U.S. Navy Hornet in DCS World has the Instrument Carrier Landing System, or ICLS, this is only used for carrier landings and not airfield landings. Even in the real world, U.S. Hornets do not have ILS. As such, we'll instead use a TACAN approach azimuth and a standard 3-degree glide slope from a known distance measuring equipment and altitude. With a glide slope of 3 degrees, we can use a rule of thumb to calculate the altitude to start our descent. That being 300 feet of altitude for every nautical mile to the runway threshold. So, a DME of 10 nautical miles would be 3,000 feet. In this lesson, we will use a typical final approach fix with a DME of 10 nautical miles from the runway to start our descent. I currently have the lesson paused. Your QNH air pressure in inches is already correctly set to 29.92. In other missions, be sure to correctly set your altimeter based on the mission briefing QNH value. Press spacebar to continue. Using what you learned before, go ahead and set your left DDI to the HSI page and the right DDI to the FCS page. You would most often have the HUD on the left DDI and the HSI on the MPCD, but we'll use this setup to more easily monitor the HSI on the left DDI. Enter the Batumi TACAN code of 16X and set a course line of 119 degrees. This can be found on the airfield approach plate. The course arrow on the HUD will be your primary azimuth steering reference. Once complete, press spacebar. Before we unpause, let's contact Batumi Tower and let them know we're inbound. Press backslash to open the radio menu, then F5 to select ATC, and then F1 for Batumi. If you are using realistic radio, press the COM1 or COM2 to open the radio menu. Later, when Batumi Tower clears you for approach, press F1 to request landing permission. This will instruct the tower to turn on the approach lights. Press spacebar to continue.
Use press right alt S right control. See you.
We now have everything set up for our instrument approach based on TACAN navigation with a controlled 3-degree glide slope from a final approach fix at waypoint 6.
Atumi, Colt, 1-1,
Once unpaused,
inbound.
fly to and maintain an airspeed of 250
Colt, 1-1,
knots and fly
Atumi,
through the gate
fly heading
ahead.
1-2.
Ahead of you are a series of gates to help you stay in azimuth and glide slope. Make sure to fly through each one.
Altitude.
When ready, press spacebar to unpause. Here we go. Reduce throttle to idle until your speed falls to 250 knots and maintain that airspeed until we reach our fixed approach point at waypoint 6. Note the TACAN heading on the HUD and HSI should be pointing directly ahead. To help slow down, you can use the speed brake by pressing left shift B to extend and B to retract. Fly through the gate ahead at waypoint 1. Once your speed is below 250 knots, remember to retract the speed brake if it is still extended by pressing B. Ensure your airspeed is below 250 knots and lower your landing gear and set flaps to full when 5 to 7 miles from the FAF.
Colt 1-1, cleared for visual, contact tower. Atumi, Colt 1-1, request landing. Batumi, Colt 1-1, request landing. Colt 1-1, Batumi, clear to land, runway 13, wind 126, at 4 meters per second.
Oh, take it easy, take it easy. Bit too low.